Moving on to the host risk factors, being fairly prevalent among American travelers, hepatitis A factors include a lack of hygiene, poor sanitation, not being vaccinated, and ingesting food or water that has been contaminated with hepatitis A. An example of this could be a contaminated individual who has hepatitis A touches an item that an uninfected individual will ingest. Also, waterborne outbreaks can also be an example. Those who have not been vaccinated or wish to not be vaccinated are at a higher risk for contracting hepatitis A, especially while traveling under the conditions listed before. According to the Stanford Health, hepatitis A is sometimes called traveler's disease because it is the most frequently occurring vaccine-preventable infection in travelers. Environmental factors play an important role in the vulnerability of hepatitis A. Developing countries' characteristics match the description of host factors for hepatitis A. Poor sanitary conditions and underdeveloped sanitation systems are usually in these countries, as well as a lack of safe drinking water available. Traveling abroad and traveling to underdeveloped countries put an individual at risk for hepatitis A. While traveling, many American travelers encounter different cultural items that they may be interested in. Environmental variables include consuming food that is out of the ordinary that may be dangerous depending on where the food came from and how it was prepared, drinking any liquids with ice cubes that may have not been through proper water sanitations, specifically in Mexico, and hepatitis A is prevalent in these areas but not limited to Africa, Asia, the Mediterranean basin, Middle East, parts of the Caribbean, Eastern Europe, Central America, South America, and as stated before, Mexico. Hepatitis A is geographically distributed into areas of high, intermediate, and low levels. An example of high would be developing countries with poor sanitation conditions. Intermediate would be countries with transitional economies and regions where sanitary conditions vary. Low would be areas of high endemicity and isolated populations like religious communities. The picture displayed explains which level each country is at. As you can see, America is low, so when American travelers go abroad, they are very at risk. Moving on to socioeconomic factors, they affect the vulnerability of individuals becoming victims of hepatitis A. The most affected areas are ones with disadvantaged socioeconomic conditions. Relating socioeconomic status to sanitation problems is approximately 37% of the world's population today does not have access to improved sanitation, meaning there's a significant proportion of the global human population that lives with hepatitis A that can thrive due to socioeconomic status of where they live. For temporal variation, the linkage to American travelers sparked the studies to see if there's a temporal pattern in hepatitis A. FAERS noticed there are particular months out of the year where hepatitis A numbers are reported higher than usual. Climate and behavioral factors are also contributed to this pattern. Travel increase in the hot months, usually in the summer, to endemic areas are a part of this temporal variation. Increase in travel to areas with a lake or body of water present that can be a host for hepatitis A are also a temporal variation.